Hello and welcome to Camping Corner. Today we're going to talk about the Rachel Alexandra Stakes and the Risen Star Stakes. They're both at Fairgrounds on Saturday, and of course the latter race is part of the Derby Trail. And the latter race features two big favorites, or maybe one big favorite, but we're going to talk about that. First, let's talk about the Rachel Alexandra, then I'll go into the Risen Star. So let's get going, and I'll tell you my picks for the Rachel Alexandra. We start off with the morning line favorite, Good Cheer. Well, I expect her to be the morning line favorite. She's undefeated, and she comes off a win in the Goldenrod Stakes at Churchill Downs. It was last November, but I think that's fine. She has 6 works since then. Let's take a look at the Goldenrod, and let's see how she won that race. We catch them in mid-stretch, and Good Cheer is moving into the lead. Eclatant is in second, and Quietside is moving into second right now. And notice the whip is not being used on Good Cheer. I think she's doing it with a vigorous hand ride, and I think that's fine. I think she could have opened up by more if she needed to. Quietside is about 2 or 3 lengths behind, and then there's a big gap to Eclatant back in third. And Eclatant was almost caught for third by that other horse, but I think that Good Cheer won the race impressively, and I have no problem with just saying she's going to win this race. She has tactical speed, and she has 6 works since then, and I think she has everything going for her in this race. So Good Cheer's my pick. I don't think it's the best betting race, though. I think it's a race to watch. But if you need this race for multi-race wagers, there's no avoiding Good Cheer. She has to be part of the ticket. I want to give Ballerina de Oro credit for finishing second in the Demosel Stakes on December 7, and she only lost that race by 1 length. My problem is she comes off a layoff, and I don't know, sometimes Chad Brown uses races to get his horses back into shape. Another problem is Ballerina de Oro is a late closer. And look, she was 6 lengths behind at the first quarter in the Demosel Stakes. And she's usually 6 lengths behind, 8 lengths behind, 7 lengths behind. I don't know if she can give up that many lengths in this race. I don't think there's that much speed in this race. And I think that she's going to be, if there's any pace at all, she's going to be a threat. But I just kind of doubt that there will be pace in this race. Let's talk about the likely pace setter in this race, Simply Joking, who set the pace in the Silver Bullet Day before going on to win by 2.5 lengths. I thought she looked kind of shaky towards the end. I don't know if she wants to go any farther than this race, a mile and 1/16. This is a mile and 1/16. Another problem is I don't know if she can beat Good Cheer or Ballerina de Oro. I think these are better horses than what she faced in the Silver Bullet Day Stakes. So those are 2 concerns. I'm not going to pick her on top. I think if you want to play an exacta, maybe you can put her in second or third, and she has a pace advantage, so maybe she can work that, but I don't think she's good enough to win this race. I will put her in my top 4, though. And lastly, I want to talk about Anonyma. Now, Anonyma beat Take Charge Milady back on December 20 at Oaklawn Park, and we know that Take Charge Milady, we're going to take a look at her Equibase page really quick. Take Charge Milady went on to win the Martha Washington Stakes at Oaklawn, and then Anonyma went on to win an optional claimer at Fairgrounds on this course, and she won over California Sunset, who isn't that bad, I guess. And she won that race by 2 lengths, so that was a good win as well. I need to see her do it at the stakes level. I don't completely trust this filly yet, but she is improving. I still think that Good Cheer is the one to trust if you're going to trust any horse in this race or any filly. And maybe Anonyma proves herself in this race, but I think limiting her to underneath spots is probably the right play for now. Good Cheer is the pick in this race, although again, I don't think it's the best betting race. Ballerina de Oro is her main threat, and for value underneath, I would say Simply Joking and Anonyma are the 2 fillies you want to consider for second or third or even fourth if you're playing a super. And I'm going to move on to the Risen Star Stakes. In the Risen Star, we start off with the favorite, East Avenue. Now, I don't like the fact that East Avenue is still popular with handicappers, even though he comes off of a bad race in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He lost that race by 13 lengths. And yes, he stumbled at the start, but he never did any running after the stumble, and that kind of bothers me. But before that, he won the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland. Let's take a look at that race. I've showed this race before on this channel, and East Avenue is on the lead. And yes, he's doing it very easily, and the jockey is just giving a mild ride. And Ferocious is spinning his wheels in second. I think that's Dapper Moon in third. My problem is Ferocious has not done anything since that race. He finished 5th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and then he was disappointing in the Holy Bull Stakes. He was well behind Burnham Square and Tappan Street. And I don't even think Dapper Moon wants to route. I think he's probably a sprinter. And also Veloso came closing for third late, and I think he's a either sprinter or miler as well. So I questioned who was behind East Avenue in the Breeders' Fraternity at Keeneland. And then, as I said, once the stumble happened in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, he never did any running after that. And I guess you could excuse it because he stumbled at the start, but it's still, I would have preferred to see him at least make a mild run to finish in mid-pack at least. But no, he was 13 lengths behind. Kind of reminds me of who was that horse? Dennis's Moment, who stumbled at the start in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile a few years ago and never did any running after that. And I know that East Avenue is a contender in this race, and I have to include him in my top 4, but there are some red flags here to think about. Let's talk about the likely second choice in this race, Jonathan's Way. Jonathan's Way comes off a second place finish in the Kentucky Jockey Club last November, and he didn't do much running in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He was 7th by 7 lengths, although he was ahead of East Avenue, who was 13 lengths behind. And before that, he won the Iroquois Stake on the lead. So this horse can set the pace. He could also be a stalker. And let's take a look at his Kentucky Jockey Club effort. Jonathan's Way is probably behind horses right now. He's on the outside, and he didn't get a lot of pace to close into as a stalker in this race. 24.56, 49.30, 113.63. First Resort had all the advantage with those slow fractions. And Jonathan's Way is trying towards the end. He's going to pass the third place horse. I think that's Tistastic. And he's going to pass him. And again, though, the fractions were too slow. And I don't think many horses could have closed into those fractions with a good horse like First Resort up front. So Jonathan's Way is a contender in this race. But again, the value will be low. He's a well-known horse. The bettors tend to remember the horses that ran in the Breeders' Cup, and they tend to favor those horses. Let's talk about my upset pick. This might sound crazy, but I think American Promise can upset this race. He was 6th in the Southwest Stakes, but he was pace compromised when he went up to the leader Speed King, and he tried to challenge him around the turn. Let's take a look at that race. We catched him rounding the turn. Speed King is on the lead. American Promise is right on him. And you see that Bontemps completely folded. He went back into the pack. And the fact that Bontemps folded makes me think the pace was very fast. And now we see American Promise starting to get tired. But he's still in the picture, and Speed King still has more to give. And they enter the stretch run. American Promise is still in second. We have horses like Sandman, Patch Adams, and Publisher chasing behind in 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And American Promise kind of impedes Publisher there, so you can forgive Publisher's effort. American Promise is still in the picture. He's 4th right now. Well, now 5th. And Speed King is going to go on to win. I think the fact that Speed King didn't fold when American Promise tried to challenge him is what discouraged American Promise. And I know that American Promise didn't break well in that race, but maybe Dwayne Lucas worked on that with him. Remember, only 2 starts ago, American Promise had that big 95 Beyer speed figure when he broke his maiden and beat Publisher. And to put that 95 in perspective, last weekend when, John Hancock won the Sam F. Davis Stakes, he only had an 85 Beyer speed figure. And 2 weekends ago, when Burnham Square won the Holy Bull Stakes at Gulfstream, he had a 90 Beyer speed figure. I don't think a lot of people will pick American Promise to win this race. He could even be used underneath as a back wheel key. What do I mean by a back wheel key? Well, you can place him in second alone, and maybe put East Avenue and Jonathan's Way in first, and have American Promise just as a key in second, and maybe one of those 2 favorites will win. That'll be something of a payoff for an exacta. In any case, I'll make American Promise the pick of this video. He's my pick for the Risen Star Stakes. Let's talk about 2 more horses. I want to give Bill some credit for finishing second in the Lecomte Stakes. He was only second by a neck, and it did not look like he was handling the track, so maybe the sloppy track bothered him, and before that he won the Gunrunner Stakes by 6 3/4 of a length. So he does like this track when it's a dry track. Let's talk about Chunk of Gold for a few seconds. Chunk of Gold was a closing second in the Leonardo Stakes at Turfway Park, and when you watch the race it looks like he was full of run at the end. I think this colt wants 9 furlongs. I only question whether or not he wants dirt. His 2 races came on synthetic at Turfway Park, so there's no way to know whether or not he wants dirt. But if he does handle the surface and he gets pace in front of him, I think you could hit the board at a big price, maybe 20 to 1, maybe 30 to 1. I think he will be a big price because the public tends to ignore synthetic runners when they try dirt for the first time. I don't think the public will be on him at all. So Chunk of Gold, maybe a long shot option for a superfecta or trifecta. American Promise is my pick for the Risen Star Stakes. I'm taking a swing with him, but I'm not ignoring East Avenue, and I'm not ignoring Jonathan's Way either. They are both contenders in this race as well. And also, Bill could be an underneath option, And if you want to get crazy, Chunk of Gold could be an underneath option as well. And American Promise, I know he's not the best horse on paper, but Lucas tends to surprise when you least expect it, so I think that American Promise could surprise some people. That's my analysis for the Risen Star and the Rachel Alexandra. Thanks for listening. I'll be back soon with another video.